Hey folks, welcome back to Exploring Nova. Today we are cruising into Washington, D.C., starting off on 14th Street Southwest right after the bridge. Now, I won't lie, with all the wild news coming out of D.C. lately, I was half expecting flying saucers or presidential parades blocking traffic. But nope, just me, the road, and the peaceful vibes. We are passing by the Holocaust Museum now, and everything looks totally normal, like a regular Sunday drive. So sit back, relax, and let's roll through the city together. And if you enjoyed this chill driving tours with a dash of humor, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up. It helps the channel grow and keep the wheels rolling. Alright guys, so we're still rolling down 14th Street, and yep, I can definitely feel the pulse of the city now. The sidewalks are buzzing, the crosswalks are doing their little countdown dance, and the tourists, they are out here living their best lives. On the left, you got the National Mall stretching out like a giant green welcome mat. And somewhere nearby, there is probably a kid asking if the Smithsonian has dinosaurs and ice cream. Spoiler alert, just to both. It's one of those drives where you just soak it all in. History, sunshine, and the occasional honk from someone who thinks they own the road. Classic DC. Coming up on the right is the Ronald Reagan Building and International Trade Center, aka the biggest building in DC. That's not the Pentagon. It's got over 3 million square feet of space, which is wild when you think about how much paperwork that could hold. This was the first federal building in DC designed for both government and private use. So, yeah, you got the international trade offices, federal agencies, and probably someone in there trying to find the food court. Oh, and get this, there is a piece of the Berlin Wall inside the building. So, if you ever wanted to see Cold War history while grabbing a sandwich, this is the spot. Alright, y'all. So we just passed by F Street, and things start to feel a little more business class downtown. You got a mix of historic and modern buildings here, offices, retail, and a few spots where you can grab a fancy coffee that costs more than lunch. One building that stands out is the National Press Building at 529 14th Street Northwest. It's been home to journalists and media organizations for decades. And if walls could talk, this place would probably spill some serious tea. Okay, my friends, we just passed Franklin Park, and you could tell we are deep in downtown now. Office buildings, coffee shops, and folks power walking like they got a meeting in 5 minutes and a latte in their other hand. Franklin Park is looking fresh these days after a big renovation. It's got new path, seating, and even a cafe. Not bad for a park that's been around since the 1800s. And up ahead is Thomas Circle, where traffic gets spicy and GPS signals start questioning their life choices. But hey, it's all part of the DC charm. Monuments, roundabouts, and just enough confusion to keep things interesting. Alright, rolling up to Thomas Circle, the statue in the center is General George Henry Thomas, a Union hero from the Civil War. When they dedicated it back in 1879, thousands of people showed up, including President Rutherford B. Hayes. That's right. The circle had presidential level clout before brunch was even a thing. And get this, Massachusetts Avenue actually runs underneath the circle in a tunnel, built way back in the 1930s. So, if your GPS suddenly panics, don't worry, it's just DC doing its underground magic. Okay, so we are officially rolling into Logan Circle, and you can feel it. The city shifts right here. The buildings get older, but somehow cooler. The sidewalks are busier, but no one is in a rush. This neighborhood has layers. Victorian row houses that have seen it all. Trendy cafes that serve espresso with attitude, and bars where the stories are better than the drinks. It's the kind of place you love not because it's perfect, but because it's real. A little polished, a little raw, a neighborhood that's been through things and came out the other side with better taste in music and a stronger cocktail game. You don't just pass through Logan Circle, you feel it. You wonder who lived in that corner house 100 years ago. You smell something good from a kitchen you can't see, and for a moment, you forget you are in traffic. Now, here is something most folks don't know. During the Civil War, this very spot was home to Camp Barker, a refugee camp for newly freed enslaved people from Maryland and Virginia. What was once a place of struggle and survival is now lined with Victorian row houses and art galleries. It's a reminder that cities evolve, they carry their past quietly, beneath the surface, under the sidewalks, behind the facades. Logan Circle isn't just trendy, it's layered, it's lived in, and if you listen closely, it still whispers its history. Leaving Logan Circle behind, the city starts to shift again. The buildings get a little older, the stories a little deeper. Up ahead is the U Street corridor, once called Black Broadway. This was the heart of DC's black culture in the early 20th century. Jazz poured out of clubs, legends like Duke Ellington played here, and the streets pulsed with creativity and resistance. You pass places like Ben Chili Ball, still standing after decades of change, protests, and presidents. It's not just a restaurant, it's a witness. And finally, you roll into Columbia Heights, a little more residential, but no less alive. It's where big box stores sit next to pupuserias, where languages mix on the sidewalk, and where the city's heartbeat feels a little more human. This stretch of 14th Street isn't just a road, it's a timeline. And if you are paying attention, it tells you everything. Back in the day, this area was farmland owned by the Holmead family. Then, in the 1800s, it became home to Columbian College, which eventually evolved into George Washington University. That's actually where the name Columbia Heights comes from. Fast forward to the early 1900s, and this place was booming. Streetcars, federal workers, and even Supreme Court justices living in the neighborhood. But after the 1968 riots following Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. assassination, Columbia Heights went through some tough decades. Then came the comeback. In the late 90s, the metro station opened and boom, revitalization. Today, it's a mix of old school row houses, embassies, street murals, and the massive DC USA Mall right on 14th Street. Driving through Columbia Heights, and let me tell you, this neighborhood's got flavor. It's where history, culture, and good food all meet up for a block party. If you are hungry, this neighborhood's got your back. Craving something bold? Tip Cow is the spot for spicy Laotian dishes that'll wake up your taste buds. Want tacos? Taqueria Habanero serves up some of the best birria in town. For pizza lovers, Little Coco's is cozy, cheesy, and perfect for a chill night out. And if you are feeling adventurous, Queen's English brings Cantonese flavors with a twist. Think truffle dumplings and chili braised beef tongue. Oh, and don't sleep on Latena for Ethiopian comfort food, or Tamasha for rich Indian curries. Columbia Heights is like a world tour for your stomach, and it's all just a few blocks apart. One of the standout landmarks nearby is the Tivoli Theater, just off 14th Street. Built in 1924, it was once one of DC's grandest movie palaces. After decades of ups and downs, it is now home to the Gala Hispanic Theater, keeping the arts alive with Latin American performances and community events. All right, so I just turned left onto Park Road Northwest. It's one of those streets that feels like a little slice of real DC life slows down just a bit here. You got row houses with character, neighbors chatting on their stoops, and the occasional squirrel doing parkour across the power lines. Park Row's got a mix of everything: local shops, murals, and that classic Columbia Heights vibe. It's the kind of street where you might find a hidden cafe or a pop up art show without even trying. If you are walking this stretch, keep your eyes open. The details here tell stories: painted doors, porch plants, and the smell of something good cooking nearby. This community is a mix of longtime residents, young professionals, creatives, and families from all walks of life. There is a strong Latin American presence here too, with places like the Gala Hispanic Theater and the Mexican Cultural Institute keeping the culture alive and vibrant. Weekends are when Columbia Heights really shines. Families with strollers, bikers cruising by, and friends catching up over pupusas or spicy Laotian curry. Is the kind of place where you feel welcome, even if it is your first time here. Mount Pleasant Street Northwest is not the Washington, D.C. you see on postcards. No marble monuments or polished corridors of power here. This is the city's soul, loud, layered, and unapologetically alive. You roll past Salvadorian pupuserias, Vietnamese nail salons, and corner bodegas that have seen more history than most museums. The smell of grilled meat and fresh cilantro hits you like a memory you didn't know you had. This neighborhood, once a flashpoint, now a mosaic, wears its scars and stories with pride. Gentrification creeps in, sure, but the old rhythms still echo. Street vendors hustle, murals speak, and the people, they are the kind who say good morning like they mean it. Mount Pleasant isn't trying to impress you, it's just being itself. And that's what makes it beautiful. Back in the 1800s, this land was part of a sprawling state called Pleasant Plains. Then came the Civil War, and with it, the Mount Pleasant General Hospital, built to treat Union soldiers. The scars of that era still linger, quietly etched into the bones of the neighborhood. By the early 1900s, the streetcar arrived, and Mount Pleasant became DC's first streetcar suburb. Developers rushed in, building elegant row houses and apartment blocks for the city's rising middle class. You can still see them, stoic, proud, and weathered by time. But history isn't always kind. The riots of 1968, white flight, and decades of neglect left their mark. Then came the soul of El Salvador, of Central America. Immigrants who brought pupusas, cumbia, and resilience, they made the streets sing again. In 1991, a police shooting sparked a riot that shook the neighborhood. It was a turning point. Painful, yes, but also a moment of awakening for Latino activism in DC. Today, as you drive through, you'll see gentrification creeping in. Yoga studios next to bodegas, but the spirit of Mount Pleasant still here. In the murals, in the music, in the smell of grilled corn and tamarindo. It's a place that lived through everything and still finds a way to dance. Columbia Road, a street with a name that doesn't come from the city, but from a college, Columbian College, which eventually became George Washington University. That's DC for you. Even the street names have a backstory. Columbia Road once held the Knickerbocker Theater, a grand cinema built in 1917. But in 1922, during a brutal blizzard, its roof collapsed, killing 98 people and injuring over 100 more. It was one of the worst disasters in DC history. Today, cars roll by, people sip coffee, and a few remember the tragedy buried beneath the pavement. Columbia Road Northwest, where the city's heartbeat gets louder. You are not just driving through a street, you are gliding through a living, breathing mural of DC life. Here, the community isn't just a word, it's a force. Neighbors know each other, they argue, they laugh, they dance in the streets during festivals. You'll hear Spanish, Amharic, and Creole before you hit the next light. The local shops aren't trying to be trendy, They are trying to survive, and in doing so, they become anchors. The corner bakery that still makes pan dulce like abuela used to, the barber shop where politics and football are debated with equal passion. Calvert Street Northwest, a quiet exhale after the chaos. Trees lean in like old friends, and the city softens just enough to let you think. This drive wasn't about landmarks or perfect shots. It was about the people, the pulse, the grit that holds DC together from Mount Pleasant to Columbia Road. Every block told a story, some loud, some whispered. And maybe that's the point. You don't really know a place until you've seen it from the street, until you felt the rhythm of its everyday life. Thanks for riding along. Stay curious, stay kind, and keep exploring. Exploring Nova, and I'm signing out. Thanks. So, yeah, I could have battled for parking in DC, hunted down the perfect Italian sub, and maybe even found a spot with air conditioning. But instead, I went with the real MVP, Valentino's in Alexandria, Virginia. No AC, no problem. I took my sandwich to the park like a gentleman on a mission. Cold cut in hand, birds chirping, and zero traffic. This is how you end a driving tour with flavor, fresh air, and a little peace before the next adventure. Thanks for riding along. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe grab a sandwich. You earned it.